Of all the villages and communities of Mount Desert Island, one that is hardly known, forgotten by travelers on land or sea, is the old village of Sound on the northeast shores of Somes Sound. It is the site of the second permanent settlement on Mount Desert Island, the Richardson homestead, above the waters of Richardson Brook. 100 years ago, it was a thriving community of quarrymen, farmers, loggers, and fishermen. Now, overgrown by trees, the old cemetery, farmsteads, quarries, and one-room schoolhouse of the Sound would probably be completely unnoticed by a driver on Route 198 headed to Northeast Harbor. Within the story of the village of Sound is a microcosm of the history of Mount Desert Island. Sound was not centered on the waterfront, but rather on the road to the quarries, so it has not been developed by summer residents in search of prime real estate. In fact, the village is still there, largely inhabited by descendants of the original settlers. The boarding house where the teachers lived, the old general store, the abandoned quarries, the cemetery, and the Richardson homestead may still be seen on the east side of Route 198. 100 years ago, a traveler headed through Sound on the way to Northeast Harbor would have had clear views of Somes Sound, for the hillsides were empty of trees and the land was actively used for farming and grazing. One would have been able to see timber being loaded onto coasting schooners headed for the cement kilns at Rockland, or blocks of granite wrestled onto vessels bound for Boston. Fishing boats were anchored in the harbor, and children were tending gardens and livestock, or headed to school.
Good evening and welcome to Channel 7 News at 5:30.
Thanks for joining us. The 1860s are coming back to life on Mount Desert Island.
A one-room schoolhouse built 140 years ago will be the permanent home of the MDI Historical Society. Channel 7's Greg McQuaid reports the move will allow new history lessons to be learned by future generations.
The last time students learned the 3 R's here was back in 1927. But if the Mount Desert Island Historical Society moves in, this old one-room schoolhouse will live on as a place of learning.
The most important thing about this building is we're going to be able to restore this schoolhouse so that children living on Mount Desert Island are going to know what it was like to go to school in the 1860s and 70s.
The yellow schoolhouse was built about 140 years ago for the children of quarry workers who lived in the area. But by the late 1920s, it became obsolete. Since then, it has been a gathering place for town and church functions. Now there's a move by the town to give the building to the local historical society. As it stands right now, the MDI Historical Society only has a seasonal home. But when ownership of this schoolhouse is transferred from the town, the Historical Society will finally get a year-round residence.
This is a miracle to us. We've grown in the last 3 years, and we need more place for our artifacts. We've got thousands of photographs, thousands of archives, documents, and a large collection of artifacts, some of them very large pieces that we just can't store in that building anymore. And it would be wonderful to have our researchers come down to this building and have a warm place to be in the wintertime.
It was a wonderful surprise when, in the spring of 1997, the town of Mount Desert offered us the Old Sound Schoolhouse to preserve, to restore, and to use as future museum space. Naturally, we jumped at the opportunity. It was this past March that the voters approved the project, and now we are launching the fundraising campaign to complete it.
The MDI Historical Society was founded in 1929 to protect the heritage and to preserve the scenic and the historic integrity of the island. We have an excellent base of operations here in Somesville with our museum, which was opened 67 years ago, and by preserving the character of the village of Somesville, which happens to be a National Historic District. Now we're ready to shift our focus to other areas of the island. And we're especially excited about this opportunity to preserve the Sound Schoolhouse and open the building as an island-wide cultural center and museum.
Well, this is a wonderful opportunity for the young people of this island, now in school, to get in touch once again with the lives and the studies that their predecessors led 125 years ago. The kids can come in here, they can sit at desks, on benches, as I'm sitting now. They'll use slates instead of paper, and they're going to get a feeling for what it was like to be a quarryman's child.
And I was born about a mile up the road from here and lived there all of my life so far. I started school here in September of 1919 and had one teacher through every grade, and graduated from what was then called grammar school in June of 1926. And there's probably 3 or 4 of us left that went to school here.
As most of you are aware, Mount Desert Island is facing a period of very rapid growth and change. Much of this growth will affect our historic buildings and landscapes.
We have a real chance here to make history come alive, especially with young people. It's important to get young people into history.
And if we were at least a bit inattentive, she'd throw a little piece of chalk at us to get us awake. There was a few apple trees here, and she would gather them and dole them out one to a person to make sure that no one hogged them or anything. And that was quite an event, seeing who got the apples.
I've often thought that we should have an island-wide community center, a cultural community center. And this is a central location. The old community of sound is mostly forgotten about today, and years ago was an important part of the island life.
There's been so damn many of the artifacts and things from years gone by that anything that couldn't be preserved now, I think, should be. And I hate to see all of the old schools disappear, and I was tickled to death when they decided that the Historical Society should have this one.
The building is in excellent shape. The frame is in good condition. Everything is level and square, and so it's a good frame to work with. That's the basic structure of the building. The only part of the structure which is in a state of deterioration is the foundation, interestingly enough. It can be restored. The foundation was made from granite stones quarried right here on the site, just to the east of the building. The beauty of the building, both the paneling, the wainscoting, the interior details, and the windows and the doors are all original, so therefore the original materials can be restored. And naturally, the longer we delay the restoration, the more costly it will be because of the need to replace material. We estimate that the total cost of the restoration and the new construction will be in the range of $200,000.
Fundraising is now underway to preserve the Sound Schoolhouse as a living museum for our children and for future generations. And included in the goal is a 1,000 square foot addition to provide year-round headquarters for the Mount Desert Island Historical Society. This addition will house exhibits, archival storage, public restrooms, and the curator's office.
This is a $315,000 project. We need $35,000 for the driveway, septic tank, well, that kind of thing. We need $25,000 for the exhibits and $45,000 for general administration, and the balance is, of course, for the restoration. The building's in such good shape that we can really put this museum on its feet at a very, very low cost. I was very honored to be asked to chair this campaign. My wife and I have come back to this island after many years all over the world, and it means a lot to us. And above all, we want your help in this important endeavor.